Okay, we're rolling.
All right, this is an interview at 4 Point Sheridan Hotel, Manhattan, New York City. It is the 11th of January 2005, approximately 12:30. The interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Oscar Osborne, Jr., 4/27/1923.
Okay.
Born in Sumter, South Carolina.
All right. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
8th grade.
All right. Do you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I was in South Carolina at the time, and I was sitting at home listening to the radio, and I heard the announcement on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any feelings or reaction when you heard this?
No, well, I was very young,
Yes.
and it really didn't make too much difference. It was just news.
Mm-hmm.
I never dreamed that it would be as big as it was,
Mm-hmm.
until after I got a little older and began to realize.
Okay. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
Mm-hmm. And you entered the Army?
In the Army, yes.
Okay. Where did you go for your basic training?
We went to a small camp outside of Chicago called Camp Ellis, Illinois.
Okay. How long were you there?
We were there approximately, let's see, from June to maybe 3-4 months.
What kind of training did you receive?
I received some infantry training,
Mm-hmm.
and that was about it. It's general basic training.
Okay. Did you get any specialized training at all?
No,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
at that time.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go from there?
We went to San Bernardino, California. From there we went out into the deserts of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there approximately 6 months. Then they shipped us back east and sent us overseas.
Now, what kind of training did you receive in Arizona in the deserts?
Infantry training.
So you went in this hot, dry climate, and then you were sent into Europe.
Yes.
Okay. Did you go with a unit, or did you go as a replacement?
We went over as a unit.
What was your unit?
I don't remember the unit name, but it was Quartermaster unit.
Okay. How did you go overseas? In a ship?
Yes, in a convoy.
In a convoy?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you go from the United States to where?
We went to England,
Mm-hmm.
and we stayed at a place called, I think, Kittering, England, until shortly after D-Day. After the beach was cleared out in France, we went over to France, and we were stationed at a place somewhere around Cherbourg.
Mm-hmm. Do you know when you went into France?
It was probably June or July of 1944, because the beach had been cleared out there, and they had taken a few of the towns.
Uh-huh. Now, what was your assignment there?
Well, I was in a quartermaster bakery outfit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were baking bread for the troops.
Now, did you bring portable ovens with you, or?
Yes.
Could you just describe setting one of these units up? Did you have to set your own unit up?
No,
Or?
I didn't set up. I didn't have anything to do with the setup. I was driving truck.
What kind of truck did you drive? Like a
2.5 ton.
ton? Okay.
What did you do? Deliver supplies around, or did you?
Yeah, picking up supplies and delivering bread to the troops on the front lines.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How long did you move from there?
Well, I stayed with them until December 1944, after the breakthrough of the Bulge.
Mm-hmm.
President General Eisenhower at the time, he lost so many men in the Battle of the Bulge that he didn't have replacements in air or sea to replace those men that were killed and maimed. And he called for volunteers from the black troops. And there were 4,562 black soldiers that volunteered to go into the front lines.
Mm-hmm. And you were one?
I was one of them.
Okay.
Out of the 4,562, I think they only used about 2,221 of us in the actual fighting. We were integrated into all white infantry outfits, divisions.
What unit were you assigned to?
I was assigned to Company G, 39th Infantry, 9th Infantry Division.
Okay. So you were put in with a white unit.
Yes.
How were you accepted at the time?
Well, you didn't know the difference. I mean, it was everybody considered the hostilities were going on, and they needed men, gunpowder, firepower, and you were just another soldier.
Now, how many black troops went into this particular unit?
I think it was about 40 of us or 60 of us that went in. They had one company because they eventually started calling us the 5th Platoon. And we didn't stay in the same quarters as the white troops, but we were part of the unit.
Now, this was after the Bulge. This was during the winter then?
Yes.
Did you get any specialized winter gear?
No, we had no specialized winter gear. We just had our regular Army ODs and underwear, heavy shoes, gloves, nothing special.
Okay. Could you tell about your combat experiences? What was it like the first time you went into combat?
Well, it was fear, but we knew what we were up against. We knew we had to be killed or killed. And we faced it with some sense of reality. And we went right across the Rhine River, up into the Ruhr Valley, and to the Hurtgen Forest, where I got wounded.
Could you describe the Hurtgen Forest? From what I've read, that was a very horrible battle.
Yes, it was, but nothing much I can describe about it other than the trees, the forest itself. It was just a thick forest, heavy trees, and we had to fight in there.
Now, what kind of weapon did you carry?
M1.
You carried an M1. So you were wounded in the Hurtgen Forest?
Yes.
Would you describe that?
On the morning of April 5th, 1945, as we were going through the forest, marching fire, I was shot in the upper left arm. And it left me with a partial paralysis of the left hand.
Was anybody else wounded with your group, or just you?
Not at that time. Not at that time. I was the first one to get wounded on that morning.
Mm-hmm. Did you get treatment right away?
Yes, the medic was there, came up and treated me, and then they sent me to the back to field.
Hospital back?
It wasn't a hospital, just, yeah, to the field hospital.
Where did you go from the field? What did they do for you in the field hospital?
Well, they cleaned the wound up and they tested it, and they found that I had nerve problems in the arm and I couldn't return to duty.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, they sent me to a hospital in France, stayed there for 2 weeks, then back to England. I stayed in England until I think it was around the 20th of around the 20th of July. Yeah, around the 20th of July. They operated on my arm and they stitched it up, and they put me in a cast, and they determined then that was the nerve problem.
Mm-hmm.
Radial, ulnar, and medial nerves was shattered. Therefore, I couldn't return to duty. So I didn't see any active duty from April 5th, 1945 until April 27th, 1946, when I was discharged from the hospital.
So you were in hospitals almost a year.
Yes, 13 months.
13 months. Where did you go in the United States?
When I came back,
Yes.
well, when the boat landed, the ship landed at, I think, Norfolk, Virginia, and we went to Patrick Henry Hospital, stayed there for 2 weeks, then they sent me to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, I think.
Mm-hmm.
From Fort Devens, Massachusetts, they sent me to a hospital on Staten Island. It was called Holleran Hospital at that time. I think it was a state hospital, but it was newly built in the state. They never used it, and they turned it over to the Army to use for wounded soldiers coming back until a few years after the war, and they turned it back over to the state.
Mm-hmm. Now, what kind of care do you think you received?
Oh, I see. I received excellent care.
Mm-hmm.
Even to this day, I'm getting good care.
Your arm still bother you?
Well, yes, I have partial paralysis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you received the Bronze Star also?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about how you received that?
Well, the Bronze Star, we didn't get it. I didn't get it until late. In fact, I just got it on June 1st, 2000. In 1994, we organized, and there was one of the fellows from Texas. He went into the War Department. His name is Mr. Wade. And he found the records of, I think, about 800 that was alive at that time. And he sent out letters to everyone, and some of us got together In 1995, I formed an organization called 2,221 because that was the number of soldiers that went into combat. And we operated as a unit. We have a homecoming at first in Atlanta, Georgia, then St. Louis, Philadelphia. And our last one this year was in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
So next year we hope to have another reunion in Tennessee.
So, how did he find out who were the ones that received the Bronze Star? All the men, or just
Well, all infantrymen, combat infantrymen were supposed to receive it, but they didn't give it to the black soldiers among being discharged. In fact, I only got the Purple Heart when I was discharged. And the combat infantry badge and the Bronze Star and the other awards were given after Mr. Wade got us together and we went to the Pentagon. And they searched our records and they found out that we were entitled to it. And those of us that were living, we got Governor Pataki, they contacted him, and he presented mine and one of the other fellows, Mr. Haywood Campbell, at the 369th Armory in Upper Manhattan. So.
Now, after you were discharged, did you make use of the GI Bill at all?
Yes, I did. I went to school under the GI Bill. I went to the Boulevard School of Watchmaking, and I became a watchmaker. In the beginning, I had trouble getting jobs, but eventually I got out on my own, and I stayed in business until '56, when they stopped burglarizing and robbing me so bad I couldn't offset the losses. And then I closed up and I went into work for the Boulevard Watch Company. I stayed there for 7 years. I left there in 1972, and I moved to Atlanta in '73. And I set up shop in my apartment and did trade work, contract work for stores. So that worked out very well for me.
Did you, beside the 221 club group that you belong to, do you belong to any other veterans organizations?
I belong to the DAV, Disabled American Veterans.
Right. You never decided to go to the American Legion or VFW or?
No, no. DAV was serving my purpose at that time.
Are you active with the group?
Yes.
Okay.
I was active up until a couple of years ago. I had heart surgery and I had some trouble getting out. In fact, we meet right here in the Masonic Temple at 23rd Street and 6th Avenue.
Okay. Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
Only one of the fellows in Louisiana. He passed away 2 years ago.
But you now go to reunions with the group.
With the group, right.
So they meet once a year now, or?
Well, we're trying to meet once a year. We were meeting once a year under Mr. Wade, but he became ill and he could no longer function. And so we, last year, We met in,
I think you said Nashville?
last year we met in Clanton.
Oh, Atlanta, okay.
Wait a minute. No, year before last we met in Clanton, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Last year in Nashville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? Thought left my mind. Oh yeah, you asked if we were still in contact, right? Yeah, we're still in contact with about 20 of the guys.
How do you think your time in the service changed or had an effect on your life?
Well, it had quite an effect on my life because I grew up as a youngster in segregated South.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I moved to New York at 17, I began to integrate into the other society. And the Army, in a way, it set me back. Then in a way, it enhanced the integration. In fact, that we performed so well. That's what I left out there. We performed so well in combat that General Eisenhower was in contact with President Truman, and he told him of us, and that is one of the things that inspired President Truman to sign the proclamation of the executive order to integrate the armed forces.
Mm-hmm.
See, so that's one of the pluses.
Mm-hmm. What made you volunteer when President or General Eisenhower asked for volunteers?
Well, it was something different. I mean, it was in the segregated outfit. We had no privileges. You couldn't go nowhere. You couldn't go to France, Paris. You couldn't go there. You couldn't do anything. And in other words, you were just restricted to a small area. And all you knew was work, 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 work. And I was under the impression when I went into the service that I would be in the front lines fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never comfortable in service outfit. So when the opportunity came for me to get into the infantry, I grasped it.
Mm-hmm. When you were in the hospitals, were you segregated there, or?
No. No.
Mm-hmm.
All integrated.
Mm-hmm.
In Germany, France, England, all integrated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your interview.
Okay.
Are there any other things you think you'd like to add, or?
No, there isn't anything else that I can think of right now. You see, some of the guys had much more experience than I did, because some of them went into the line ahead of me, and some of them, they all stayed longer.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them stayed longer, those that didn't get wounded stayed in longer, so they were there when the war ended. Although I'm told that when the war ended, they put them back in service outfits. Mm-hmm. They didn't give them any recognition whatsoever. So that's why I was wondering if you could have interviewed Mr. Hayward Campbell and Mr. Melville of all, because they have much more experience than I did.
Now, are they someone from New York, or?
Yes.
Okay, well,
It's about 6 of us around in the New York area.
okay.
You know what we can do when we send you your
Well-
tape, we'll add some applications, and if you see them, you can give them the applications for us?
Sure, I know.
Okay.
I would be glad to do so.
Okay.
All right.